And awesome. Thank you, one and all, for joining me on episode 14 of our Peace Talks. And this is a series where I have the privilege of interviewing other YouTubers who express their beliefs about spirituality, especially astrology. And I thankfully have Miss Chrystal Lynn for this episode. How you doing, Chrystal?
I am doing awesome. I'm so excited. I need a chance to get to talk to other crazy astrologers like myself. I just think it's great. I think it's awesome. So thanks for having me.
No problem. And you're out in California, correct?
I am. I am right between LA and San Diego. So I'm looking forward to all you guys coming out this way.
Yeah, I'm so excited to go out there. I think I should be out there like mid-May. I wanted to be out here end of the month, but either way, I last time I was out there, it felt like heaven, and I love the weather. So I'm just looking forward to being back out there. Definitely.
Oh yeah,
I might be in Joshua Tree too, so that might be cool.
That's like 45 minutes from me.
So, oh, nice.
Yeah, I think we need to like get together with a group of us and have some kind of cool astro conference or something. So I've been thinking about that.
That would be awesome. That would be really awesome. I would so be down. Definitely. So how have you been enjoying this Neptune and Pisces transit?
Oh my gosh. Well, as you know, I have a Pisces ascendant and a moon in Pisces. And when Neptune moved into Pisces, my whole entire life changed. It was just really bizarre. Like everything about me internally that I've held deep inside and not been able to express my whole life and really didn't understand was able to come out, was all of a sudden like just came out. And it came out for me. I had to explore it. I had to express it. And, it brought a lot of conflict because at the time it was like a crisis of faith. It was like, I can't share this side of me publicly, this, side of me that I understand deeper issues. It just wasn't accepted. And when Neptune and Pisces, moved in, I was able to completely, and I had to completely express it. It was like something I couldn't hold back anymore. So I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's great. That's great. How do you feel it allows us, and this is great because you do have a moon in Pisces too. How does it allow us to like tap into the divine more? I know music has taken on an exceptionally like amazing quality, but what do you feel personally in a way that allows us to ground it? It like allows us to tap into these other realms that a lot of people aren't even opened up to yet.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, I think on a like practical level, and I think if you really pay attention, even through Facebook and social media, one thing about Neptune is it represents film, photography, stories, movies, creativity, nature, everything that we can feel and sense. When you go to the movies, you're watching somebody's story. And even though it's a character that's not real, you engage emotionally. And now with Neptune and Pisces, everyone can tell their story. And everyone can tell their story, and everyone should tell their story. We now have a chance, globally, for every one of us to express our own movie, our own story. And if you look on Facebook, you see people taking pictures of things. You see animals, everything about animals that's been hidden, whether it's abuse, whether it's just unawareness. I mean, we're seeing videos of even animals communicating in ways that we've never seen before. And that is all this Neptune and Pisces transit. If for some people to connect like spiritually to something they can't see, it's really difficult. But for the average person they can connect through nature, through stories, through, you know, being able to see their own story play out and actually tell it. And I think that's a big sign of how we're all being affected by this. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me.
I love that part, the telling your own story part. That is so true. It's as simple as just being able to have internet access, having a YouTube channel, or just having access to any of these channels, like whether TV, radio, and being that we're all, you know, connected. It's almost as if every story we see almost gives us another piece of ourselves back. Adding more to that whole Neptune so that was so nicely said. I really do enjoy that. So you also go by the Cowgirl Astrologer, correct?
Yes. Yes.
What inspired you to take on that name, and why don't you tell us a bit about your spiritual journey? How did you start combining that with astrology, and how did you start getting into astrology?
Okay, all right. Well, it's kind of an interesting story. And I don't know if I've shared it completely publicly, so it might be the first time here with you, Peace. Yay! I was raised and pursued a very devout Christian life up to the age of like 35 to 37 years old. Very committed. Just as I have studied astrology, I studied the Bible. You know, it wasn't something that was forced upon me. I, you know, lived out that life. And about 35 years old, when I was going through that transit, there's two things that were happening astrologically for me. One, I was right in the middle of my Uranus opposing Uranus transit, which you guys haven't hit yet, but that is a huge bridge of crossing over. It's also the point in time, I believe, that we truly began to transition from our South Node to our North Node. You will feel pieces of your North Node, but you really won't engage in your North Node till you cross that bridge. It's like you'll get trickles of it. And so all of a sudden, my whole entire life was falling apart, and including my faith. Everything I'd ever believed, I was suddenly questioning. I was suddenly, you know, seeing things fall apart around me. And I had questions, and I had internal questions. And about the same time, I had a friend of mine that was a Tai Chi instructor, which was a little taboo in my Christian community, but I was always a little bit of a rebel. So I was taking Tai Chi. I'd had a back injury, and he was starting to share with me different concepts about life. And I was a little bit afraid, but I was a little bit intrigued. And I started seeing all of these symbolic things happening in my life, like certain specific birthdays and certain specific dates, things that I couldn't ignore anymore. And I didn't have anybody I could ask. Like, I kept having the same people come in my life with the same birthday, like over and and over again. And that particular day was February 27th. Story goes a little bit more. I guess I'll give the goods on the story. I got to give the goods on the story. I was going through a divorce. Okay. So as a Christian, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go to hell. You know, I couldn't.
That's like the big no-no.
The big no-no. And I had, you know, stayed in this marriage for 20 years and it was based on all my Christian principles. And so I was really devastated. And so my husband at that time, my ex-husband, was born on February 27th. And so when that divorce happened and I began to move on, the new man that came in my life, I found out his birthday was February 27th.
No way.
Now, what are the odds of that? Okay.
What?
You have absolutely no concept of astrology. Wouldn't you want to know? Like, I'm like, am I marrying the same person? Like, that was my thought. Like, oh my gosh, this has to mean something. And so I was just like, this is too bizarre. At the same time, Facebook was getting popular. And you know how everybody's birthdays pop up? I started noticing that 3 people that were my best friends through elementary school, like besties, February 27th, February 20th. I was like, this is too bizarre. I have to know what this means. And that was the beginning of my question. And my Tai Chi friend, who knew a little bit about everything, gave me a birthday book. He says, here, I don't know what to tell you. Here's a birthday book. And he had a thing on natal charts, and he looked my chart up. I didn't even know what a chart was, never even heard of a chart. And he says, well, yeah, you're Pisces rising with the moon in Pisces. And that would make sense that you have this direct link to people that are Pisces. Then I started thinking every best friend I've ever had, including the Tai Chi instructor who was February 22nd. All these Pisces.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So just that close. Wow.
It was getting crazy. And so then I had to really start exploring, well, does that mean everybody's the same person? I didn't get it. That's when I started understanding that years, and that began my journey. And I just became completely obsessed, and I didn't have anyone I could talk to about it. So I began a self-study through websites. And what I did, how I taught myself astrology behind the scenes with nobody to ask, is because I am a Virgo, I remember a lot of dates. And I just started going on like the birth chart calculator, putting past dates, events in my life, different people, different relationships, and started looking for patterns, started seeing if anything meant anything. And every time I would go back to a very specific date, I would see these astrological patterns. And then that would send me on a journey to find out what they meant. I had a real intuitive ability to see patterns in a chart. Like patterns come out of me. Like I read a chart intuitively before I ever read it scientifically. I just see patterns. And at the time, I've been an animal behaviorist for all of my professional career, working with horses. I started putting in animal birthdays into the birth chart calculator, and totally floored me that all of my animals that I've had for many, many years were Pisces moon, were certain connections to my chart. And I was like, this is too bizarre. And I also was involved in working with service dogs at that time. And I started seeing that service dogs, specific dogs that had specific abilities, had specific patterns in the chart. And everybody thought I was crazy. And I couldn't help it. Once I saw it. And so the last 3 years I've been documenting my animal research, and I work with some service dog organizations trying to actually help them match people with the service dogs, because it takes 2 to 3 years to figure out if a dog has a specific ability. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but stay with me here. It'll come back around. For example, certain dogs have the ability to read a seizure an hour before the seizure happens.
No way. That's for real?
Oh, yeah. Now, there's only about 1 out of 12 dogs that can do this. This is a huge breakthrough for people with epilepsy. Person with epilepsy, if they go and try to get a service dog and the dog cannot read the seizure before it happens, the dog is of no use other than being an alert dog. I had a best friend of mine that got one of these dogs. She had seizures her whole life. She knew the dog's birthday. So I go, give me the birthday. Let me see if I see anything. Open up the chart. The whole entire chart is Pisces, 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 Pisces. I was like, that makes sense. Okay, I like this whole Pisces theme going on. That makes sense. The Pisces, which we have the ability to know what happens before what happens happens.
Yeah.
And here's what it does. For people with epilepsy who take 2 years to figure out if the dog even has the gift. If the dog doesn't have the gift, now you've bought the $20,000 dog, okay, for your problem, and you have to give it back or try to find another one. Trainers cannot find out if this dog has this ability until the person has the seizure. So when you're training a dog, it's just really kind of complicated, but I have like the answer that I can tell if the dog's going to have the gift the moment it's born. And there's other aspects. So, I mean, it's not just like, oh, it has this and it has it. There's other aspects that go with it. And so I started presenting this to service dog organizations. Of course, again, they thought I was crazy. It's about 3 years ago. And I just started documenting the ones who would allow me. I have several that send me the litter when it's born, and I can tell if it's going to be a dog that, you know, is for seizures, a dog that is a cadaver dog, you know, that goes in and finds dead bodies. There's all different types of dogs. And
Wow.
as an animal behaviorist, because I understand the animal and I understand astrology, I am then able to help. And so it's very new, but I'm making a breakthrough, and I've got a book coming that I believe will change the whole entire service dog industry. So that's how I became the Cowgirl Astrologer. My animal work is actually the most important work I do. And, but people just really weren't ready for it, and still quite aren't ready for it, but it's coming. So I don't know. There you go.
I could totally see it appealing. I could totally see it appealing to the younger coming up to this, because that is a game changer right there. Like that application of charts, which is so Virgo too. It's very, and I like how as a behaviorist, I kind of see behavior as a 6,000 Virgo energy. So like when you say you know patterns, I could totally fully. But yeah, that's really awesome. That's really, really, really awesome just to see you applying these gifts and the skills as well. For those who aren't familiar with your channel, what could you inform them that you do? Like, what kind of videos do you make? And then how does being a Virgo affect your channel as well?
Well, I think I have a kind of an interesting lineup. I was born during one of those rare transits with Sun, Jupiter, Pluto, and Uranus in Virgo. Okay, it only happened in 1967 and 68. Yeah, I'm like, whoa. So I'm
to Jupiter and Uranus?
Yes, all conjunct.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that is serious.
In my 6th, 7th house. You know what I mean? In that.
Okay.
Okay, so it makes me a teacher. And it makes me a very analytical teacher. And so the Pisces side of me, I get the info, but the Virgo side of me allows me to give it out in a very systematic way. And when you're doing work with animals or the scientific work that I want to do with research, you got to be a Virgo. You know, you got to have that ability to sit there and calculate dates and numbers and times and be obsessed with it. And so I am, but as I'm doing it, it's as if the Pisces side of me gives me the information, like transmits things that, I mean, I had questions about astrology before I even knew it was a possible question, because I was by myself for like 3-4 years studying this with like nobody to ask, or I was just kept exploring it. And when I finally started seeing the astro community out here, the first video that I saw was Alyssa Sharp, which she hates about Virgos. I was like, yes! There's other people out here as crazy as me. So it opened the door then for me to explore, you know, with other people and realize that the questions I was having, there's answers for. But I was coming up with the answers. I just didn't have a way to confirm it. And now I have been able to confirm it, you know, with my study now, you know, with other people and other astrologers. So I don't know. Cool stuff.
That's really awesome. Yeah. I really, really love getting readings from Virgos. I like readings from Pisces too, but because I'm so mental, like they'll tell me a lot of things that aren't necessarily shade of Pisces as being vague, but it's just really out there. And it doesn't really take much preference until it happens, and then it's like, hold on. And then as opposed to the Virgo readings, like it's just so practical. It's like you get told what you need to know. Everything is very realistic. You can actually, you know, and then accurate too, which is like the best part. So that's what I really appreciate about that Virgo energy. But it is also my 4th and 5th house, so I'm kind of biased towards it. But yeah, it's I like how you mentioned your Uranus, opposite Uranus. It's currently squaring mine in Capricorn and Aries, and it wasn't until that square happened that I started to break out of Christianity, at least as far as I used to. be into it. So I'm really looking forward to that opposition, because I like how you say it, like bridges parts of your North Node. And now that Jupiter is in Leo, my South Node is in Leo. I'm like barely tapping into my South Node right now. So I'm really excited about, you know, I'm really all about my North Node since I'm a Gemini and it's that Aqua link. But yeah, that's really exciting to know, at least as far as where things are going. And I really like how we're breaking out and pioneering so many new things. How do you Pluto and Sagittarius and Pluto and Capricorn generation are going to shape our discoveries for us and kind of lead this trail we're creating for them?
Yeah, the Pluto, you know, really, if you can study anything in astrology, I mean, I'm very big on evolutionary astrology. In fact, Stephen Forrest is one of my mentors that I study under. If you guys don't know him, you can check him out. He's been around a long time and done amazing work with astrology. But understanding the generations is very critical, because there's certain points in time when the generations get triggered. You know, it's kind of like a DNA chip. And right now, I mean, if we go back to even Pluto and Virgo generation, we're being triggered right now. We're the next ones.
Is it because of the cap? Is it because of the Pluto and Cap that's triggering it?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's one reason. You know, also, you know, there's certain time frames. We're the next ones up coming into the political realm. You know, Pluto and Leo has been, and I'm not real political, but I'm just talking in general. Pluto and Leo has been running that show. And when Pluto and Virgo take the scene, okay, we're going to go back to green. All right. We're going to go back. That's why you see now people going back to nature, to self-medicating in a way that's healthy versus all this crap we've been putting in our bodies. Okay. That's why people are going to buy land. They're becoming more self-independent. That's what you're going to see. Especially when Uranus moves into Taurus. Okay, well, that's another subject, but that's coming.
I actually wanted to ask about that. I kind of feel that Uranus and Taurus is going to be like when so many inventions get to start manifesting like very brilliant things. How do you think that ties into stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you know, what I'm picking up on right now that I think is going to be really critical about Uranus moving into Taurus is people are going to become more self-reliant and not so dependent on the government systems. Yeah. You know, they're going to be growing their own gardens. Let me tell you right now, if you've got land or you don't have land or you want to get some land, get land, because it's going to be scarce. People are going to be running to a place where they can really take responsibility for their own, you know, being, health-wise, spirituality, because Uranus will be opposing Scorpio, right? We've got Uranus in Taurus. The opposite will be Uranus or in Scorpio. So you've got this spiritual connection going on right now, okay? And those people born during that period, you know, during that period will be triggered. So, I mean, yeah, inventions, people are going to be going back to, they're going to be going back to practicality. You know, Taurus is about that solid foundation. And so it's, you know, we think it's going to become, yeah, we've got the internet, but what we've got on the internet is all the how-tos, which Pluto and Virgo is generating right now, okay? The Pluto-Virgo generation right now are the ones teaching the younger generations how to take your own life. That's why there's practical solutions. And what we've been told is a bunch of lies, because you've had the Pluto and Leo generation, okay? That's been all about grandiose, bigger, better, more, until we're all in such financial debt, you know, the financial decline. And when Uranus moves into Taurus, it's not going to be about bigger, better. It's going to be about peace and creating that within your own world and protecting that, because the bull is protective of its land. So people will become much more protective. And the internet is about teaching us. Right now, you can get on the internet any second of the day and learn how to live your life completely the way you want to live it. I don't know. That's kind of some of the thoughts I'm having about that coming up.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. As far as being able to learn how to like live more healthy too. There's so many information out about how to live self-sustained just off the energy. And I really like how you mentioned, you know, being able to live more without needing to depend on the government for food source. And I kind of feel like that's going to force these people who kind of are losing money to like now do something against that. And it might be a bit, there might be some tension because it's going to expose that we're being lied about that you said. And I guess this and the next decade is when it's all going to like come out in the open and just change forever. Cause yeah. And then, so that also means you had Pluto in that stellium too, with Sun, Jupiter, and that's really awesome.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. It only happened in 1967, 1968. It won't happen again in our lifetime. So I recently just started I've known that, but I've recently started researching the impact of that. So I think you know, you asked me about my channel, and that's really what I'm here to do. You know, my readings are a combination of when I see somebody's chart, I have this kind of cool ability, and you know, this is the benefits of all this Pisces craziness I've got, but I can see like a movie screen. The chart comes out to me like a movie screen, and I see the potential in somebody. Now, the interesting thing about that, it doesn't mean that that person's going to live to that potential. I can't tell you that. Does it mean that they, you know, haven't come from the bottom of the barrel? You probably have, but I can see the potential they were given. And then the Virgo side of me, I start telling people, here's what you got to do to get that potential, the how-tos.
Oh, so that's very valuable.
Combining that really, I think, makes my readings kind of cool, you know, to help people. You know, I focus a lot on career change because I had to make such a huge career change. And I think that people will be able to truly, if they're smart, like what we're doing right now, building a business, building a life, doing what we love. I mean, whenever before can you get on the screen in your own house? We would never get to hear from people like you or people like me if it wasn't for this time.
Yeah.
You know?
It's truly revolutionary.
So
and that's the best thing, bringing back to it. And it's bringing back to what you said before. It's not only that we could do that, but we could use that to tell our own story. And now everyone gets to get heard. Eventually, though, as more people gain freedom and access to that, which is powerful. So right now, let's play the questions game. We're gonna take turn asking each other 3 questions. We'll start with you. You can ask me a question, and then when I'm done answering, I'll ask you a question, and then when you're done, you can ask me. And then yeah, we'll just flip like that.
All right, that sounds cool. Well, I was looking at your chart, and I noticed that let me make sure. I want to say that you are Gemini.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm a Virgo. In your opinion, what is the differences with Mercury between Gemini and Virgo? What do you see as how Mercury plays differently between both signs?
Oh, I love that. I feel like Virgo in a lot of ways is like Gemini, but like the Earth version of Gemini, whereas Gemini just focuses more on the whole cosmic thing. So Mercury and Gemini will channel a whole lot of truth, but it won't necessarily focus on how you can ground that truth and make it real and practical. I feel like the difference between the Gemini and Virgo aspect is the difference between the Cancer and Leo that's within it. So now when it goes into Virgo, it's what this information means, how it's going to make you feel, and actually bring more creativity in it. So I feel like the Virgo influence takes all this higher cosmic language and now specifies it towards something and kind of applies it. It's almost as if like it's taking, it takes away, because Mercury is still a trickster. So I've learned, especially in Gemini, you'll gain certain information, but whereas Virgo focuses on the actual words and info, making sure it's precise, Gemini will not really mind about embellishing things and even outright lying, just so you get more the actual expression of the message. Then, whereas Virgo will kind of take out the fluff that may be in Gemini and just give you the straight facts and the straight. But it's also more to it than just facts too. I feel personally that Virgo is real magic. So when Mercury, another sign of magic, goes to Virgo, it can now take these ideas and actually like make them manifest. Whereas in Gemini, it just inspires you with those ideas to begin with and whatnot.
Oh,
but yeah, that was a really, yeah. I really do respect Mercury and Virgos, because that a lot of I could get really lazy and I don't like to ground my facts. So that analytical genius that happens when it moves into Virgo is so helpful in a lot of myriad of ways. My question for you is this: I feel like this Mercury conjunct Mars trine Pluto is really, really significant, like more significant than I'm able to comprehend right now. And then also this Moon trine Neptune. What do you feel about that? How's that going to affect us for like the next week?
Oh, you're talking about just right now, this next week energy?
Yeah, well, yeah. How is the transit right now going to affect us moving into next week?
Well, I think we're in
both those trines.
Yeah, I think we're in a very special period of time right now. One of the things, at least I'm seeing with what you're talking about, we've come out of such, erratic, intense, obviously the last few years. And right now, as this energy is calming down and as the lineup comes before us, it's kind of like we're going through this tunnel of a feeling of what we want, a feeling of being able to ground it. When we go through a let's just say a week of energy, what we grab from those really powerful moments can last a lifetime. It's like a feeling you grab a hold of. And we haven't had a feeling to grab a hold of in a long time that we feel comfortable with. And with all of this lining up right now, it gives us just a moment, a taste of, contentment, or a feeling of, yes, this is what I want, or yes, there's a peace in this. And when you can grab onto that feeling, even though it'll go all over the place later, it's like it keeps you grounded to know what you're looking for. And this week ahead right now, I think is a feeling that we all need to grab a hold of and remember the feeling, because in that feeling, it's like we get a sense of, all right, this feels right. And then when everything else doesn't feel right, we can go back to that place. I don't know. That might be too Piscean out there for you, but I know I do get out there because it is hard. Like, again, when I'm going through transits, like I feel them. And like it goes down inside of me and like I understand them. And then it's like, but it takes time sometimes to like I'll understand something and then it plays out and I'll be like, yes, that feeling was right. So, I don't know.
Interesting.
It's important right now that we grasp the feeling, because we've lost what feels right. We don't know what feels right anymore. We don't. And this is personally, what feels right to you might feel right different to me. But it's like you said in the beginning of this, I feel like I need to be in California. You know, I feel that. There's something in your intuition that says I need to be there. You might have all the reasons why, but deep inside of you, it's like a you know, a pigeon going home. You know, you're feeling it. Yeah. And that feeling, when that feeling took place, that's what you keep working towards, because you remember that feeling. You might wake up tomorrow and feel like crap. And it may not even look like it could happen, but that feeling you got at that moment in time, and that was a specific transit that opened up to you, let you grab that feeling, then you keep trying to find it again. And it keeps you going. So, I don't know. That's my thinking on that.
Awesome.
So, I mean, okay, so now question for you. There's one sign that I believe is the luckiest sign of the zodiac.
Ooh.
Which sign do you think that is?
Honestly, I used to believe it's Sagittarius, and I still do believe it's Sagittarius. And then I used to think that it was Scorpio, because I'm starting to study about the North Node in Scorpio. And to a degree, I feel like Gemini gets that luck from Sagittarius too. But yeah, I'm going to say I still think it's Sagittarius. A little bit Leo too when they work it right, but I'm going to say Sagittarius is the luckiest. How about you? What do you feel about that?
Well, my answer will surprise you. I think the luckiest sign of the zodiac is Capricorn.
Oh, I could so see that. That's interesting. Could you explain why? Because I could tell why, but that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Why Capricorn?
I've been kind of observing this for a while. This is kind of a new theory I have, and I'm still kind of playing it out. Okay, but it started with my animal theory. Okay, my animal work. All the animals that I have in my life that came into my life at a very specific time, I had these huge radical changes in my life, and they were all Capricorns, okay, or they had strong Capricorn energy. All right. Then I noticed that anytime I have a strong Capricorn in my life, whether it's mooning Capricorn, rising Capricorn, and I watch their lives, there's a certain promise to Capricorns that they will rise above and rise to the top of any situation. Okay, it's a promise. Might mean it takes a lifetime. Yeah. And Capricorns get a bad rap, and I'm here to defend them because my son is a Capricorn.
Yeah, they do.
And when my son came into my life, he was born on 1111. Okay, how about that date? My whole entire life changed, and I'm not saying everyday issues, but the luck turned around. You want to call it luck. And my life turned, and all of a sudden, like miracles were happening. And I couldn't, I would look at transits and I would look at things, but every time I would have these miraculous moments, it would be a specific event with my little Capricorn son. And I just started doing this little bit of an observation. And I thought, every time I have a Capricorn come into my life, my luck changes. Like if I'm interacting with them.
Yeah.
Now, again, there's all kinds of other issues when we deal with signs, and I get the whole thing, but you've got to look at the bigger picture. And I think that there's a promise that Capricorn, if used in its full power, will always come out on top. So I like to have good Capricorn in my life.
I resonate a lot with that. I have a moon in Capricorn, so that makes me feel amazing. But I have a Capricorn lady friend who every time she'll win like good money, and she just makes it sound like it's natural. And I really, that of course kind of helps me key into that luck thing, but especially situationally, just see what they make out, what the situations they make out of, helps me tap more into that promise that you said. I totally believe that. As far as my question for you, what are your top three and your least three favorite signs? or the three signs that are the most challenging for you to deal with.
Okay. Well, of course, I love Pisces. That's my number one, because one thing about Pisces is that we have a certain language. So when you meet another Pisces, it's so refreshing to know that you can speak your language with them, even if it's just for a minute. It's like a relief. So I really love that I can do that when you can only have that with another Pisces.
Yeah.
So Scorpio, I'm gonna have to say, is my second favorite. You know, I'm in awe of Scorpios. My highest respect goes to Scorpio. I've had a lot of Scorpios in my life. I have Scorpio in the 8th house, so I'm like a Scorpio magnet. So I've learned to navigate them, but I'm telling you right now, a loyal, faithful Scorpio that does love you, there is like no other more incredible feeling of having that kind of relationship. So that can be really cool. Gosh, number 3, did I say? I'm probably going to have to go with Libra, because I love to have total intellectual conversations and debates.
They're so fun and they're so eloquent. I love it.
Yeah, I love the Libra. I have Mercury and Venus in Libra, my South Node, so I totally get, and 7th in Libra, so I totally get the Libra thing.
Nice.
The hardest ones for me, you know, Gemini can be hard for me. I love Gemini, because the thing I love about Gemini is that we get to, like, the Mercury conversation is like the bomb. And like, you can, like, you know, gossip with the Gemini like no other, like totally like get in on all the details and what's going on. Virgos love all that too. Like, what's going on? And, oh my God, tell me. And did you know? And, you know, like all my Gemini friends, you know, guess what? You know, and then it's like, I love that. But what I see as the difference with Gemini is the fact that Virgos actually, when there's a missing piece, they see the solution, even if the solution is duct tape. But a Gemini often, when I'm working with them, like on a project, they want to tell me all the reasons it can't be done. Like they're seeing all the reasons that it can't be done. That's what their eye is catching. Like, well, you know, you could do this, but you gotta have this, and all the reasons they can't. And as a Virgo, I want to just know how you can do it. Don't tell me how you can't do it. Tell me how you can do it. So that,
knuckleheads.
Yeah. You know, Aquarius is always difficult. You know, I can't deny.
Yeah. To everybody.
I can't deny. And probably Aries is real difficult for me because of my moon in Pisces. It's really difficult because with the moon in Pisces, like I have to operate, like I call it like a swan pond, like 5-foot energy around me. Like I want to keep it like a really calm pond. Like I'm always trying to keep the waters quiet. Like I don't like when the emotional waters are out of control. Like it is really hard on me. And in Aries, which all my kids have strong Aries, when they come into your 5-foot space, they don't like tiptoe in the water. They jump in and splash the water.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Aries energy is a little bit like a much for me. It's hard for me to get my balance around an Aries. So there you go.
Yeah, it's a tough King Kunks, I would say. One of the toughest to deal with.
But I have my North Node in Aries. So I'm having to learn that. I'm having to learn how to be more just, you know, step over the dead bodies. Let's go. Right?
Indeed. Yeah.
Come on, you have Mars in Aries. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I would like to be more like that. It's like I really would like a little more grit so that I don't have to constantly think about how everybody feels about the situation before I can make a freaking decision. But I'm learning. So I learned from you Aries energy people.
Nice. Interesting. Very interesting.
So is it my turn or your turn?
It's your turn. You have one more question.
Okay, out of all of the Saturns,
Ooh.
there's obviously 12. Out of all the Saturns, which do you think Saturn is the hardest? What's Saturn, you know? If you were born with it, like if you're born with it, what Saturn do you think is the hardest?
I personally feel Saturn in Pisces is the hardest until you're Saturn, at least in this generation, because I feel like Saturn and Pisces will push so many situations for you not to be responsible so that you can rise above it. And it's just really hard to do in this age. It almost like gives you so much opportunity to be irresponsible, but then deal with the Saturn backlash. But I like it because I have a Saturn in Cap. So it's really hard for me to understand Saturn and Pisces unless I'm seeing it in the moment. But I just feel like Saturn and Pisces opens up drug abuse very heavily, or just give you reasons to escape. I would say also Saturn and Cancer is really difficult too. But yeah, Saturn and Pisces, I'm trying to understand that more. It's not really easy for me to get. It's a really great question, by the way. But yeah, since that Piscean energy will dissolve any reason or need to actually work, Saturn there just kind of makes it harder unless they're working things that ultimately lead to nothing, which is just so hard to do in a realistic dimension. It just kind of makes it hard for them. I see a lot of Saturn and Pisces people just depressed because, you know, they're more than able to rise to the task, but there's a lot of energy that fights the motivation to even do it. And they could be seen as extremely lazy, but it's like literally like that Piscean energy. You would know if you're Pisces rising and moon in Pisces. It's just could be so easy to like just get out of here and just like leave and whatnot.
Yeah.
What do you feel about Saturn and Pisces?
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree with you in that. You know, there's something, and I think we're going to see it make more sense because of Neptune coming in about the Pisces that we've never understood before. I think one of the reasons Pisces have such a history and reputation of being, you know, the homeless person, the alcoholic homeless person on the side of the road. Let's face it, that's, you know, that's what we see in the worst case situation. And how, I mean, hey, when you have that kind of Pisces, it's like, yeah, that sounds good. You know, it doesn't even sound bad. So, I mean, it's this ability to just live in your own world and hide from realities. That is true. But I think never before have Pisces had a voice and been able to express themselves creatively and to be accepted as the front runners of the world. And right now, Pisces are the front runners of the world because they're the writers, they're the poets, they're the photographers, they're the filmmakers. And Saturn in Pisces is now, it's like we almost didn't know what to do with ourselves. So no wonder we've been drinking ourselves into nothing, because you can't use this creative energy that you have in this other world. It's like being able, I mean, try to picture it like this, being able to go into this other world, okay, and tap into a complete movie with storyline, creative ability. And you can go there and you can see it vividly. And you can actually see that the world needs it. But then you go and you get it and you bring it to the world and they laugh in your face. So what else are you going to go do but go hide and drink? Because nobody appreciates that. So for people who are born with Saturn and Pisces, they've spent, a lot of that is spent hiding and going into these real inner deep worlds. And a lot of them don't come out of it because there was no reason to come out of it. Now there's a reason. Now there's opportunities for the Pisces to finally express their psychic abilities, their intuitive gifts. People are going to be going to the Pisces.
Justin Bieber, prime example.
What's that?
I feel like Justin Bieber is a great example. Like he's using his talent to just make a living off of it, just off singing, just off being creative.
Yeah.
From sharing himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. The final question that I have for you, what, based on the energy that is by the outer planets right now, what four signs of each element, so one fire sign, one earth sign, one air sign, and one water sign, which signs are really pioneering for each element, showing the way, and really, in a cardinal fashion, even though some of the signs may not be cardinal? What do you feel, which elements or which signs of each element has the universe given the ball to pioneer the rest for us?
Well, I think, if I'm understanding your question right, I think Pluto and Capricorn is one of our big players right now. And the one to watch. Pluto has just went retrograde on the 17th until September 25th. This is something you need to look at. If you don't mind, I'll give you a little astro insight when I'm looking at your chart here, because
it's on my Neptune. I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
it's on my ninth house.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is you already have a lot of retrogrades in your chart, so you could do really well during this retrograde. You should not personally be afraid of retrogrades in the outer planets. That's when you're going to thrive the most, okay? Yes. Because you have so much retrograde energy in your chart. With Neptune, your spiritual expression is going to completely radically change the next 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Your spiritual expression, you're already doing it, because I've been watching you. I like to watch creative people, and I've been watching you, and I already watched this process happening. The fact that you jumped out there and you said, you know what, I'm getting a Kickstarter, whatever I got to do. If I have to sleep on people's couches, if I have to be homeless, Neptune, I don't care, because I have to pursue this spiritual calling. That is right now the beginning seeds of what this transit could be doing for you. Okay, you are basically abandoning everything materially. Okay, Pluto and Capricorn. Capricorn's always got a material edge.
Yep.
But ultimately, this is where, when I say the luck or the promise, I really don't like words like luck, but I just use it to be fun. The promise to you is, if you keep following the timing of your chart throughout your life, the promise is, and with Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune in Capricorn, the promise is you have success awaiting you. It's already laid in the golden, the roads are paved in gold for you. Okay. But material, it takes on a lot of different things, but because you've got Neptune in Capricorn, the universe is not going to give it to you by being a corporate man. It's going to give it to you by being a spiritual man. That's why you're on this beautiful spiritual journey. And the universe will provide for you. And because you're so darn creative and, you're smart, we've got so much energy, with knowing how to make our mini businesses work, whether it's a book or, or t-shirts or whatever it is, products, Mercury and Venus and Taurus, don't forget, and let me look real quick. I'm doing your chart now. Sorry, we went on this tangent. Oh gosh, you've ascended in Taurus. The secret for you is women.
I've always thought about that. I always thought I had a special affinity to women in this lifetime. I only lived with women too my whole life. My younger sisters and my mom.
Yeah, but when we talk about practically, because I'm Virgo, so I'm going to give you the practical thing. Anything that you do in your lifetime, especially Venus and Taurus, that's a product that caters to and nurtures women you're very already inclined to be successful for, because you understand what women need. You understand how to make them feel good intuitively, okay? And so, for example, I'm just using examples, but, somebody that, runs a day spa would be catering to women in their needs. You know what I mean? Now, that could be something else, but somebody that runs any type of, you know, the fact that the readings that you do and the different things that you do, I'm sure you have women that come to you, you're ministering to them, you're encouraging them, you're teaching them. You're always going to have that strong affinity towards women. And that's the blessing of the Taurus, is they understand it's a feminine sign. Doesn't mean you have to be feminine. It just means you have to know what the feminine likes, and you have already a inclination for that built into you. So if you tap into it as a business, that gives you, right, you know, you boom, that's what you're created to do, is figure out what can I do. And the feminine is, you know, is going to come naturally to you. So I don't know what the original question was, but we went off on that. But I don't think it matters.
I love it. I love the answer. No, that was beautiful. We can end here. Yeah, just to close off, I'm going to leave your link in the description box below. So if you want to contact out her channel, you definitely can, guys. Final question I have for you, though, is if people want to reach you, how can they do so? And what kind of readings do you offer people?
Okay, thank you for asking that. You can reach me at cowgirlastrologer.com. I have several different readings. I have a 1 hour and a 30-minute. They're very in-depth. I base my readings specifically off of people's specific questions. So I'm an intuitive reader. So I don't go off on my own tangent. I want to know what they need at that moment. We go from there. I also just opened up this spring, and you can find that on my website, for women retreats at my ranch here in Menifee, California. And I will be having one a month. They're day retreats here where I do equine therapy, I do group readings, and I take 12 women in for a day. And eventually these will become overnight. So I've got Taurus in my second house of money. So I got that love for taking care of women as well. And women that are going through major life changes, you know, wherever they're at. It's a spiritual day, and it'll turn into weekend stuff, and hopefully some other astrological events in the future, because I have a really cool place out here where I can host events and run, you know, some cool astro days and camps and stuff. So that's what I'm up to these days.
Beautiful, very beautiful. Well, I definitely enjoy having you on. Thank you so much for coming on once again. Definitely stay tuned, one and all, for our next episode. We may have Cancer, Virgo, or Nadia Shah. We'll see. Like I say, every episode I suggest me to interview, and so it will be more smooth. Yeah. Until next time, peace.